I just watched Love and Thunder where Gore reaches eternity and wishes his daughter Love back to life. Spider-Man had dead villains who were perfectly alive in No Way Home. Janet Pym, she was believed to be dead, turns out she's in the quantum realm, can't wait to see her in February. Half the universe, Hulk, they're back alive. As T'Challa would say, death is not the end. And I didn't see a body in Wakanda Forever, and I didn't see him in the ancestral plane either. It's not beyond the realm of believability to have the greatest black superhero back. The guy who's been in 208 comic books called that. Not a T'Child. Bob Iger. Let's recast the real T'Challa.
Name me one character in fiction right now on the level of T'Challa. It can be a black male or a black female that's on their level in pop culture right now in fiction.
2 seconds later.
Probably took you a while to answer that. I don't blame you. Most of the content that gets pushed to us, the stuff that shows more negative side of our community, I say that content isn't good, but it shows a more negative side when we can be getting more stuff like Black Panther, T'Challa, who at this moment, Marvel Studios has created it to where you can disassociate Black Panther from T'Challa. And you couldn't. I mean, in the comics, sure he does become Black Panther, but also in that same comic, T'Challa is alive. And what would have been so great is to see both a black man and a black woman elevated together and not have to take away one just to uplift the other. But still, T'Challa is the main Black Panther. He's a definitive Black Panther. Just like how Batman, Bruce Wayne, is the definitive Batman. Clark Kent Superman is the definitive Superman. Yeah, there's other people that play Superman. There's other people that have been Superman. Not saying that the other characters haven't, proved themselves or done something, but they're not Clark Kent. They're not the definitive versions of these characters. And T'Challa is that. For Marvel Studios to take this character and dismiss him, but continue Thunderbolt Ross, a white character that barely got any development, T'Challa made an even bigger impact, and you silence the bigger impact, but you keep the thing that's less impactful. That does not make any sense. While we wait until we get the real T'Challa back, I'm doing my due diligence to read up on these comics that I need to catch up on and support Black Panther. Hashtag recast the real T'Challa. Let's get T'Challa back into the mainstream so we can continue Black excellence with T'Challa and bring him to the forefront so he can be on the level of a Spider-Man, on the level of a Superman, on the level of a Batman. At this moment, you're stunning his growth, and he's not going to be able to grow when you just keep passing on his superhero identity to Shuri, to T'Challa Jr. You're going to dilute it at some point.
T'Challa is the oldest black superhero in Marvel. He is one of the most influential, being that he sets the standard for all the other black characters. It's important to have that portrayal be retold and repurposed and put out there the same way any other role is expected to be propagated. The big ones, right? The Caps, the Iron Mans, the Batmans, the Supermans. We know the names. We're just devoid of one that looks like us. And while it may seem admirable to others to amplify, side characters or new characters into that mantle, it doesn't do as much to drive the brand forward. That's what it is, right? That's why those titles, those characters drive those titles. That's why they're so important to those titles. They're crucial. They don't exist without them because they understand that the character means more than the title. It isn't the title that drives the character. It isn't the mantle. It's not the surrounding. It's not the setting. It's not the supporting characters. It's the character himself that we love. So if you love T'Challa, hell, if you even love the prospect of T'Challa having a son, then you should love the prospect of him returning to raise that son. Recast T'Challa.
My story is a little bit different as it pertains to T'Challa. I know a lot of people will tell you that they were introduced through the comics. I was actually introduced through the movie. But in seeing the movies, I've seen complete story arcs for characters like Iron Man, Captain America, Thor. But when I think about our king, and when I say our, I mean people like my family, my brother, my nephew, my father, other black men and even black women in my family. I look at all these characters and I see that they have complete story arcs, and I look at our character, our king, and I see that he doesn't get his complete story arc. I don't get to see some of the amazing stories that I've come to expect from T'Challa, and I look at that and I see that that's a huge mistake that the MCU and Marvel are making. And so for that, I would say recast the real T'Challa.
This your man Dre Mac from the Dre Mac Show on YouTube. Of course, you already know what I'm talking about, and that's Recast T'Challa. When Jack Kirby was asked a question in 1990, why did he create the Black Panther? He looked around and said, I had nothing but black readers, but not a superhero for them. So what I decided to do is create a character. Hell, my first friend was black. So why couldn't I create a character for him? Something that was anti-stereotype and something that can actually perpetuate or look at the actual black community in a better light, especially in the height of the civil rights movement. So not only is T'Challa important, T'Challa is black history. If there wasn't for T'Challa, there wouldn't be the other characters that you look up to. There would be no Falcon, there would be no Luke Cage, there would be no Blade, there would be no Spawn, there would be no Miles Morales. There would not be any of those characters. So why is T'Challa important? Because he is the king and ruler of Wakanda. And we need to recast that role to show little black boys and little black girls how strong a king could be. Wakanda forever. Let's go. Recast T'Challa.
Whenever we talk Recast T'Challa, the rebuttal always comes up that Marvel is just simply trying to honor Chadwick Boseman. And as a Chadwick Boseman fan, I'm okay with that. Chadwick Boseman has played many of our great heroes, such as Thurgood Marshall, James Brown, Jackie Robinson. T'Challa was just another one of those heroes, and in doing so, he never wanted the role to stop with him. He never wanted to be immortalized as the character he was portraying. So if we're going to talk about honor, why not honor Chadwick Boseman by doing what he wanted? Why not honor Chadwick Boseman by taking the final piece of work that he did on the original BP script for the original BP film and have that be the film moving forward, instead of injecting your personal morbid feelings into the script and having that be the film that you show for viewers' entertainment? Chadwick Boseman understood the importance of this character. He understood the importance of the representation that Marvel is selfishly taking off of the screen. He understood that this character was created in 1966 during the height of the civil rights movement for black little boys that didn't have a superhero that they could call their own, a superhero that they could look at that looked like them, a superhero that could relate to them culturally. The Black Panther franchise transcends your little MCU. The Black Panther franchise is bigger than Chadwick Boseman, and he understood that himself. The Black Panther franchise was not something that was created in 2018. This has been here. You may be new here, but this has been here. We have been here. It's always going to be. Recast T'Challa until the king is back on his throne.
What's happening, everybody? It's Kaiser Slevin here. Black representation, diversity, mantles, Chadwick Boseman, all these important factors aside, I don't think the general masses have had the unique opportunity to just read and develop an attachment through Black Panther comics and 50 years of literature like a lot of us had. So it's probably really easy for the mainstream studios and the general public to just roll with the narrative, probably because they don't really know or are inclined to care about the character of T'Challa like that. I guarantee you if the inception of the Black Panther comics was centered around Shuri, and she was the one who was introduced in Civil War and then went on to a movie, and right before the sequel came, unfortunately the actress passed away, I guarantee you the people who are claiming a recast right now will probably end that hashtag with the name Shuri. So if you care about all those things, why not care about the development of a character like T'Challa?
Hello, I'm the Black Guru of the Pound for Pound Media Group. Marvel Studios' decision not to recast T'Challa is completely unprecedented in the world of Hollywood. We can look at Hollywood's history of recasting characters. For example, the entire James Bond franchise is built on recasting the character once every generation. Even after the tragic death of Christopher Reeves, Superman has been recast multiple times. Hell, there's been a Congo line of different Batmans and Jokers over the years, even after Heath Ledger's character-defining performance. This notion to not recast T'Challa in order to honor the legacy of the late great Chadwick Boseman sounds like bullshit to me. To honor the legacy of Chadwick Boseman truly, What Marvel Studios should do is allow him to become a progenitor of a long line of Black Panthers, instead of allowing the legacy to die with Chadwick Boseman's performance. Recast T'Challa.
Wakanda movie kills Marvel's very first black superhero that's been around for over 50 years because the very first actor who played him passed away. Wakanda movie says, forget all the little boys and girls who love him, forget about what gives them life and gives them death instead. Wakanda movie separates a king from his prince. Wakanda movie denies any other black actor the role of a lifetime to give hope to a people that desperately need it, to see love between men and women in a family that is not broken, that desperately needs to see it. Wakanda movie is Wakanda forever. It's no movie. It's a mockery. Honor Chadwick Boseman the right way. Continue his legacy. Recast the real T'Challa.
We've had a lot of black superheroes. We have Falcon, we have Blade, we have Meteor Man, we have Blank Man, we have Spawn. None of them are noble, run a country, can be king, and be a hero. That's everything that Black Panther is. That's everything that T'Challa is. When they made the first Black Panther, everyone stood up. Everyone felt the pride. Everyone came together for this character. He has so many more storylines to tell. We've only had an hour and a half of him on film. Please recast the real T'Challa, the real Black Panther.
What I have in my hand right here is T'Challa, not Chadwick. Recast him. You guys be doing everyone, including Chadwick, a favor. Chadwick elevated the popularity of T'Challa. He did a phenomenal job. But let's keep it going. A recast will resume his efforts. It won't destroy it. So please don't be afraid and recast him. The exact same way that I'm anticipating Harrison Ford playing as Thunderbolt Ross. William Hurt would not be offended if you guys will recast him. Make it happen. The same way you guys did for Harrison Ford, do the same for Chadwick Boseman. Let's keep the legacy going.
What's happening, everyone? I am Dial, and it goes without saying that the character of T'Challa is not only such an important character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but he has become a very important character in the Black community as a whole. Black Panther broke the mold. It made us look differently on how we could see these strong Black male leads in mainstream media. And I felt like it was a mistake for them to completely kill off his character in Wakanda Forever. I know Ryan Coogler believed that he was doing his absolute best to make the story without this character, but I felt like the franchise now has been damaged. There are so many amazing stories that they left on the table with this character of T'Challa, with his stories with the X-Men, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, the Avengers. The list goes on and on. The character of Black Panther is not only because of the mantle, it's about the character of T'Challa. It's about the story of a king and his influence on his people and his nation and the rest of the superheroes in Marvel going forward. I felt like Black Panther could have been the biggest franchise that Marvel and Disney has ever put out, but it was a huge mistake for them to write out T'Challa completely. But Bob Iger, since you're back running Disney again, since you're the one steering the boat now, here's your chance to fix these mistakes. Please, let's recast T'Challa, bring him back in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And no, we're not talking about T'Challa Jr. We need the real T'Challa. We need him recast again. And I don't want to hear these excuses about them feeling it's too much for them to recast the character when they have recasted other characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe before. The Hulk, War Machine, Thunderbolt Ross. There should not be any excuses. We need this character. He is very important.
This character is very important to the MCU and to the universe altogether of what's going on taking place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not even about the mantle of Black Panther. I think everybody knows that by now. It is actually about this character, T'Challa, the king of Wakanda, and replacing him with his son or anything like that just doesn't quite cut it. That's not who does it in the comic books. Now, I think that there's a lot that can go into that. I mean, I think there's plenty of room in the MCU to play with things like that. but it would seem to me that this character is more important than just some of the little things that are going on that they can do to circumvent replacing and recasting the character of T'Challa with the importance that this character is. And I think one of the biggest things that I've noticed here over the past few years is with actually the creatives involved. We know that Ryan Coogler released a letter not too long ago, and he ends that letter off saying, "Long live T'Challa," yet at the same time, him and other creatives decided to replace this character with a different character, with his son, which isn't the character. But also some of the things that we've seen over the past couple of years, I think at this point we need to have some new change in the management, be that directors, producers, and writers. They have an idea, they grasp this concept of how important the character is, but they really don't seem to understand. Nate Moore comes out and makes comments like not wanting to hire people who are fans of the comics to be the creatives, when I think that's one of the bigger kind of things that are going on in the MCU, is having people who understand the nuances of these characters, listening to fans out there. You can take a look at things like what they did with the Sonic movie, and even what they did with bringing Henry Cavill back for a little post-credit scene in a movie. I mean, it's not that hard to do. I don't think fans are so hard to please if you can just do the things right. And sometimes that might be making the tough decision, which some of these people don't seem to really be able to make or get or understand, perhaps because they're not fans of the comics.
Ryan Coogler wrote a love letter to T'Challa, but ended up killing him off in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And then Marvel decides in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, they're just not gonna use T'Challa. No, he needs to be recasted. If we're doing representation, make sure we're using the best representative. Hashtag long live the real T'Challa.
T'Challa for over 50 years has been our focal character as a Black community in Marvel Comics. From Panther's Rage to what I have in the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda, T'Challa has been our character to aspire to. Our character that looks like us, our character who holds a position of a nation's leader, now a leader of a whole galaxy. This character is someone to look up to for all of us as adults. This character shows us how to have decorum, shows us how to have poise in key situations, shows us how to carry ourselves.
Recast T'Challa, y'all. Black Panther is more than just Chadwick Boseman. Like, Chadwick Boseman is an amazing actor. He brung the characters from comic book to life. Now, no one's saying, hey, they should recast T'Challa right away. However, but what we are saying is they should have just recasted him to keep the strong Black character moving forward in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because there's a big difference between Black Panther and Sam Wilson, who's about to be the new Captain America. So, I mean, if you don't know the difference is clear, is that you got one dude who's a king, he comes from royalty, and he's hella kick-ass, and then you got one dude who was essentially Captain America's sidekick, right? So, T'Challa should have got recasted. That's my opinion. This ain't anti-women. Recast T'Challa.
Hello everyone, this is Grand Madam with Grand Madam's Tarot. Bring back T'Challa. He has been the moral compass of many a young boy and man. He is sovereign, a strategist, a diplomat, a warrior, an athlete, an inventor, a lover, and now from what I hear, a father. All of these archetypes, these are patterns of energy we need represented, and T'Challa represents that.
Recast the real T'Challa because he never got to establish himself as being a king. And Black Panther, that's a story about him becoming a king. T'Challa Jr. won't even grow up with the father who could teach him about being the Black Panther, being the king, the ruler of Wakanda, unlike the real T'Challa who had T'Chaka on his side to teach him about how to really become a king. You know, people are saying that T'Challa's legacy will still continue with T'Challa Jr., but not realistically, because he doesn't even share the same origin, the same story. You know, they're very far apart, where T'Challa Jr. is going to be growing up in Haiti, while T'Challa, he was Wakanda, basically. He was a representation of Wakanda. I wish the best of luck to the actor who's playing T'Challa Jr., but I feel like you could still have both of them co-op and coexist. Hashtag recast T'Challa.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Solomon here, and I'm a huge fan of Black Panther and T'Challa in the comics. I'm not liking the way Marvel is doing him in the movies right now, so I would really like to see the real T'Challa be recasted. So, hashtag recast the real T'Challa on Twitter. Thank y'all.
Right. Should T'Challa be recast? I don't know, maybe we should ask Cassie Lang. Or, for that matter, maybe we should ask Rhodey. Today, we're going to talk about race. In retail, there's a saying, it doesn't matter what I like, it matters what everybody else likes. 30.7% of the American population identify as African American. People of color have a place in this society and deserve to be seen. But let's be honest here. Kevin Feige's MCU said he has a plan, and that plan is to introduce every character he can. That's it. That's the plan. At the end of that plan is Secret Wars, and after Secret Wars, he will recast every character. Everything we see from the MCU phases 1 through 6 are truly the prototype for Marvel going forward into the future. And the thing about living in a transitory time, you don't know you're living through one until you come through the other side.